Every time I walk into the grocery store, I feel sick. Prices keep going up, the packages keep getting smaller, and the produce spoils in a day, and I hate that. I know I can't realistically grow 100% of our food, but even in a tiny 2-foot by 4-foot bed, you can save hundreds on groceries each year if you plan it right, and I'm going to show you exactly how. Even if all you have or all you want to manage is one tiny 2x4 bed, you can still eat seasonally from it all year if you're willing to take that frustration that you have at grocery store prices and turn it into something real, productive, and empowering in your own garden. I'm not saying plant 25 crops all at once, but today I'm going to show you 25 powerhouse crops that make the biggest difference in the smallest space. You can rotate them, mix them, and choose wisely, and then that little corner of your yard can be overflowing with flavor, nutrition, and savings if you just know the right crops to grow. And if you're new here, I'm Courtney, and I teach people how to turn a small, manageable space into a source of real food, better health, and grocery savings without a homestead, extra time, or endless chores. I save money on groceries as a single mom right here in my little backyard garden. It's less than 1,000 square feet, and it's surrounded on 3 sides by neighbors and a busy road on one side, and it's here in upstate South Carolina. If all this interests you, please don't forget to subscribe for more. And if you're ready to get started right now, I've got a free training that dives even deeper. I'll show you 4 themed garden plans that you can copy, why soil quality is the ultimate shortcut to bigger harvests, and how to grow a grocery list garden that actually saves you money so that you can grow more food in less space with less stress. You can grab the free link that I put in the description below. Just like everybody right now, I am incredibly busy. I've got 3 young kids, I've got their school, I've got their activities, I've got my work, and I'm pretty stretched thin. So I don't have hours to spend in the garden every day. And although I hate that feeling, I'm also very driven. I'm driven to make my garden work because I care about real food stability and showing my kids that food matters. A few years ago, I almost completely quit gardening. My life was incredibly messy and overwhelming, and my garden felt impossible to manage. But since then, I've been rebuilding it piece by piece in a way that fits right now. I make choices that work for our family so that I can upsize or downsize it as our lives require. And you know what? My garden is not perfect. Some parts of it feel like wasted space because I'm still rebuilding, but it grounds me and it gives me stability I can provide for myself and for my family. So how do I make it work even with so little time and so little space? I am not hiding behind some perfect garden. I can't grow 100% of our food, and most people can't do that. But I do want to show you that even in a tiny space like a 2-foot by 4-foot bed, whether it's in ground or in a container, you can still get real seasonal harvests if you plan strategically. I'm not growing all 25 of the powerhouse crops that I'm going to tell you about in that one bed all at once, but I've grown them in all kinds of spaces over the years, and I know that they'll work in a small space too if that is all you have. I love my 2x4. It is self-watering, which makes life so much easier, and over the course of a year, in a space like that, you can rotate, mix, and time these crops so that even a small corner of your yard is going to deliver flavor, nutrition, and real savings. It does not need to be perfect or overflowing all the time. It just needs the right crops with the right timing and a plan that fits your life. Here's how you can eat something fresh and in season from that space all year long. So I've broken this space into 8 squares, and each square has its own job, which is what square foot gardening is. 2 squares are going to be kind of like anchors with perennials that come back year after year, and then the rest rotate through quick crops, summer staple ones, and cool season ones. Let me walk you through what's planted where and exactly what you can be harvesting in each season. Before we dive into the squares, I chose all of these crops because they're compact, they're high value, and they're going to keep giving you harvest without taking up tons of space. That's how you stretch a tiny garden into year-round food production. Instead of showing you the whole entire layout at once, I'm going to show you what each square is going to have planted in it over the course of the year. Square number 1 is chives. This would be your first perennial anchor. They pop up early in the spring and you can snip them all season long. They die back in the winter in most zones, and then they return every year in the spring. very early spring, late winter, early spring. They're compact, they're reliable, they are great for flavor, and you can divide them every fall for free plants that you can plant in other containers if you'd like. I've always had chives growing somewhere in my garden for the past couple of decades because they're so versatile and easy to grow. Square number 2 is thyme. This is your second perennial anchor. Thyme stays small, like mounding, almost like a living mulch actually, and it keeps producing year-round in a lot of zones. In colder climates, it'll stay evergreen if it's protected. I personally like lemon thyme, but there are lots of different varieties that you can check out. Square 3 is going to rotate through radishes, bush beans, beets or carrots, and spinach. And here's how it works. In early spring, you're going to sow radishes and harvest them in about a month. My favorite variety is Cherry Bell, and I'm harvesting them right now in my garden. As soon as those are out, you're gonna plant bush beans for summertime, and then by mid to late summer, you'll pull those out and replace those with beets, which will give you greens and roots in the fall. Early Wonder Tall Top are what I have growing right now, and I like them because they're a quick maturing variety. If you prefer carrots, go for a smaller and quicker maturing type like Little Finger or Parisian. I actually have Danvers growing in my garden right now, which get a little bit larger. In cooler zones, you can direct sow spinach in October, and then in warmer zones, I would wait until about November when it's a little bit cooler. But either way, it's cold hardy and it's going to overwinter. Some varieties are significantly more cold hardy than others though, so it's worth it to research them and see what's going to work best in your space. Square 4 is going to start with lettuce and arugula and then moves to cucumbers and then kale. Early spring is cut and come again loose leaf greens for quick salads, and then once the heat sets in, you pull those and put in a dwarf cucumber that will grow up a trellis. It's going to climb up instead of sprawl, and that will help save space. Then in the fall, when the cucumbers are done, you can put in kale. Kale is tough and it keeps going after frosts, and it's going to give you harvest well into the winter under a cover. I wish I liked kale more because it is so good for you, and there are varieties that are compact and they would fit perfectly in a space like this. Square 5 is going to go from spinach to basil to mustard greens or arugula. Spinach loves the coolness of spring, and then it's going to bolt in the heat. So when that happens, you replace it with basil, which thrives in the summertime. Once the season turns cool again in the fall, you can swap the basil for baby leaf mustard greens or arugula, both of which can be cut again and again into the cooler months under frost protection, but not quite as hardy as spinach. I should mention to keep an eye out for compact varieties. Square 6 is peas, and then zucchini, and then Swiss chard. Peas are going to climb a trellis in the spring, and then those are done once the summer heat arrives. And then next to that space can be for a bush variety zucchini like Bush Baby, and those produce little 4 to 6 inch fruits in about 35 days and gives you a steady harvest without overtaking your whole space. When zucchini slows down in the fall, then you can pull that and sow Swiss chard, which is going to keep producing in the winter, and like the kale, you can find compact varieties of that. Square 7 is a dwarf tomato with marigolds and lettuce interplanted. Dwarf tomatoes are bred for containers and small beds, but they're still going to give you a solid harvest all summer. Marigolds help attract pollinators and add diversity to your space. When fall approaches and when the tomato plant gets tired, then you can tuck lettuce seedlings underneath, taking advantage of that sheltered spot. Square 8 starts with green onions, moves to dwarf bell peppers, and then garlic over the winter. Green onions are a great early season crop for tiny spaces, and once they're harvested, you can replace with a compact bell pepper plant that produces all summer without taking over. There are lots of options as far as pepper varieties go, compact ones. In the fall, then you can pull the pepper and then plant garlic, which quietly grows through the winter for a spring harvest. I'm about to plant my garlic here in mid-October. So now let's put this all together into a year's worth of harvests. In early spring, you're going to be eating radishes, spinach, lettuce, arugula, green onions, and then those perennial herbs like the chives and the thyme. In late spring into early summer, then the greens keep coming, and then the beans, peas, and cucumbers. Basil comes in, and then your tomatoes and peppers get established. Then in mid to late summer, you're gonna get tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, zucchini, beans, basil, thyme, and chives all at once. You can easily harvest something fresh every single day from your garden. And of course, if those specific herb varieties don't appeal to you, there are other compact varieties that would work. Just make sure that they're compact so that they don't take over. Like mint, for example, I put that in its own separate container because it goes absolutely nuts and it's gonna take over whatever you put it in. Then by fall, the summer crops phase out and the cool weather greens phase back in. You'll be picking kale, spinach, mustard greens or arugula, Swiss chard, and lettuce, along with late peppers and tomatoes if they last that long. Garlic gets planted and then it's gonna grow slowly all winter. Radishes you could also do in the fall because they're so quick to grow and they can be tucked into pretty much anywhere. In the winter, under frost protection, you'll still be getting spinach, kale, mustard greens or arugula, chard, and even lettuce until deep frost. Thyme stays usable in most zones, and garlic greens can even be snipped. So in every single season, you're harvesting something, and because each square has a clear rotation, you're not going to have big gaps where nothing is growing. And that's the secret to eating seasonally all year from just one tiny 2x4 square foot garden space. You might be wondering if you really have to start everything from seed out in the garden, and the answer is no. For crops like peppers and dwarf tomatoes, you'll get a big head start, and it's actually pretty necessary to start them indoors about 6 to 8 weeks before your last frost. Or you can just grab healthy little start plants from your local nursery. And the same goes for herbs like basil, thyme, and chives. Doing it this way means that your garden is going to kick off faster and you'll harvest sooner, and you're not going to be left waiting around for the slow growing crops to catch up. Once you get the hang of it, you'll mix indoor starts with direct sowing and have something fresh coming out of your 2x4 bed almost every single day. I have my little seed starting station set up by my back door where I have my Vego Garden starting trays and grow lights set up. They work so well in a compact space, and I have this set up year round pretty much, and I absolutely love it. I'm so proud of my little space. If you love seeing how much food you can grow in a single 2x4 bed and you'd like to dive deeper, I would love to have you in my free training that I mentioned earlier in the video. I have it linked in the description below. I'll show you 4 themed 2x4 garden plans that you can copy, and we'll talk about why soil quality is the shortcut to bigger harvests in any setup, and how to create a grocery list garden so that you're growing what actually saves you money at the store. It's the exact system I use to rebuild my garden after downsizing. Thanks for watching, and please share this with anyone you know who's fed up with a grocery situation and can use a plan like this. I'll see you in the next one.